Hi, namaste. It's Deb Shepherd. You see here on the side is Miss Dana Nieto Shepherd. She is my wife. She's managing all this as all of you join and may have questions as we go along. But we're going to do a class today. This is the first day of Secrets of the Soul. But we're going to wait a couple minutes here till other people join us so that everyone has time to hear, it all, and we don't miss anybody. And we know everyone's probably driving from work or getting kids organized or feeding themselves and getting settled in. So we will give it a second or two before we really dig deep into this. We roll up our sleeves, but I want to thank those people that are on today and really talk about Secrets of the Soul. This is a 3-day course for an hour each day that I'm going to give everyone some great big old nuggets to help you get some tools and some insights that can be very helpful. There is Miss Deb Bulk-Sarno. Namaste to you, my dear friend. Always love seeing people that I'm familiar with. Elisa says she heard me on Coast to Coast. Thank you so much. This is Miss Gina Horan. She's been a student and a friend for years. Glad to see you on here. So I get to say hello and some shout outs as we get going. I can't believe I can actually see that little small print. And so we're excited that you guys are here. Dana, do you have anything to share, anything that's important before I get started as well? Oops, you're muted, my friend.
Just thanks for joining in. Happy everybody's here, and I'm letting everybody know that sound looks good. Everything looks good.
We're working on our lighting, so tomorrow will be different. We have had lighting issues in both of our spaces. So today I feel like I have this natural ghost glow. Maybe I should have worn a different color. I don't know. I didn't expect it to be like that. So you're hopefully maybe tomorrow will be a little different ambiance here. But glad you guys are here. Glad you're watching and any shout outs here. Today we're going to talk about, in the next couple of days, Secret of the Soul. But before I begin, I do want to make a comment that we all send our love and blessings and prayers, or whatever it is that you believe in, to the people that have lost loved ones during 9/11. This is, of course, a significant day. It has been, 23 years ago today, or that happened? Yeah, because it was 2001. So 23 years. And actually, it was 23 years ago in about another week that I was on the radio and started doing this work. So it's always a painful time for all of us that our country went through in the world. And then also it changed a lot of our lives. It's sort of like what COVID did. COVID sort of was a wake-up call for people to look at their lives a little differently and make different changes. And so when we have these big impacts in our lives that affect our world, I think people sit back and think about what they want to do a little, next time, what they want to do and change. So when we talk about Secrets of the Soul, I know doing this work, teaching is my passion. I've said it a million times, that doing the work that I do as a medium and a psychic really helps, me know that there is an afterlife. It helps us know that there's so much more that just here. And I do believe that we're here to learn, that our purpose and our passion are not aligned. They're not the same. Our purpose is all of our lessons, and our passion is what comes from our heart. And so many times we get to a point in our life that we feel we're in cement, we're just stuck, or we feel that maybe we have glimpses of our psychic abilities or intuition, but we don't know how to, pursue it or make it, expand a little bit more. So many people have had significant losses of grief, whether it's a job or a marriage or someone dear to you that has passed, and you're digging deep to find out what's more. Maybe you've had a lot of trauma in your life through your childhood, and you're trying to figure out, what to do with all of that. And how do we open that up? Well, part of what people usually want to know is how to connect with their guides, how to connect with their loved ones. And so it's all about, how do we change our patterns? How do we rewire our brain? How do we understand our heart? So we're going to go into this with a little bit of science, a little bit of some tools, and some insights to begin that foundation about Secrets of the Soul. When we are born, I would say we have this clear canvas. We don't have that ego. We don't have the fear. And for about the first 6 years of our life, and that includes being in the womb, we don't have a filter. We absorb all this data and information. And if you're lucky enough never to have, any trauma or challenges in your life, you probably have a pretty good foundation how to move forward in your life. But that is not usually the norm. Most of us have experienced all types of different types of life experiences. And even as we age, that first 6 years really creates a lot about our brain and how we process it, helps us understand our heart and our creativity. There's so much creativity that goes on with our right brain when we're allowed to expand. What happens over time is these things wire ourselves to feel safe. Our brain and our hearts do certain things. So what's really interesting about the hearts and the brain, because we're going to talk about both of them, is that they're an organ or a muscle. And like all of our muscles, we need to practice exercising them to make them strong and to be able to do what we need them to do. I was thinking about today when I was putting down my notes was Jack LaLanne. And if anyone is of a certain age, you may never heard that name, but he was probably one of the first gurus here in America. He was at the age of 21 in 1936. He opened up the first gym in California, which was unheard of. And he died at the age of 96. The week that he died, he wouldn't go to the doctor. He was still exercising. And so we sometimes think, I'm getting old. And I say that, oh, look at my muscles. Oh, this is hurting. My hip is hurting. My knees are hurting, whatever. And we don't work our muscles to the fullest extent. And we shut them down depending on whether we've had injuries over our lifetime. We have these diagnoses of, inflammation or arthritis. It stops our bodies from working as effectively as it was designed in the beginning. Well, this goes on with our heart and our brains. When we don't activate these muscles, what happens is they don't work appropriately or to the full ability that they're capable of. We actually create this really small area of our life, and that's where we feel stuck. We feel like we can't connect. We don't even sometimes know what our passions are or what our desires are. We are just ruminating into these thoughts. We just ruminate like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I'm not feeling source. I'm not finding that co-creation with the universe. I feel blocked. So what happens is that we start becoming those little warriors. We protect our heart. Our heart feels like, I don't want to get hurt again. I don't want to feel like this is vulnerable. And our brain does a whole nother programming. Our brain is wired to be like a computer. It has all these firing things going on, trying to tell us what to do. So what we're going to talk about a little bit is that the brain has 40,000 sensory, say neurons, but it's neurites. And it's basically its own source. Is Dana going to correct me there?
I know you said brain and I know you meant heart.
Heart, that's what I want. Heart, you say that for me. Heart, this is the heart sensory neurites, right? 40,000. And it's here in my notes, but that's what happens is when I get science, I get into my left brain. But when we look at our heart is our soul's compass. It has all of our secrets. It has all of the knowledge from before we incarnated and what we need to do. It will never steer you wrong. It is the whole steering wheel and compass and everything we need to move forward in our life. And what the heart does with these 40,000 sensory things, it talks to the brain. But when we shut this down, when we don't listen and we protect it, it can't do its job. So that's what happens is that we can't figure it out and we feel frozen. So when we go into fight or flight or freeze, that's what happens, is that our heart no longer is at the finest ability to function. And this is how powerful the heart is. There's a story that I think is really beautiful to share about how impactful and what the memory of this heart does. So before you incarnated, I believe that we have a purpose in learning certain lessons. It knows. It knows. So there was a child. She was about 8 years old, and she needed a heart transplant. And eventually she did. A little girl died, and she was 10, and this girl received this other girl's heart. Everything was looking good. She received the heart well, and everything was going on just as planned. But she kept having these really intense nightmares, really intense, over and over and over every night. And finally, she went to... I'm sorry, that is my Alexa talking. I have no idea. I don't know how to shut this off. I think your loved ones are talking to my Alexis. Hopefully she'll stop. Anyway, this little girl received, that is really cool actually. She received this girl's heart and was having all these dreams.
Call from Rocco.
I'm going to have to take this out of the room.
Just unplug it.
Okay, that's the first. So which one of your family members is messing with my stuff? Okay. I love it.
Call from somebody. So
Yeah, it's hysterical. You get to see all parts of my body climbing over my desk. So anyway, she goes to a psychiatrist, and they're analyzing her dream, and she starts talking about, running, that she sees this girl. She sees I'm running in the woods, and then I feel myself being, falling down, and I feel someone over me, and I see this person's face. And he says this one sentence to me. What they found out is that the heart that this little girl received was the heart of a little girl that was murdered. So they took this to the local police, and this was in a small town. And they drew the face of the person that she saw in the dream and gave the sentence that this man said before this little girl died. They were able to locate the man, and they didn't tell him about this sentence, but he said something that he said to that little girl, which is what the girl had in the dream. And they were able to prosecute this man. He's serving time in prison. The story, the reason why it's so impactful, is our heart knows. Our heart knows our desires. It knows our secrets. It's secret of our soul. It understands the universe, and it wants to do no harm to you. And it doesn't want to do harm to anybody else. The key is having our heart be open and aligned and be surrendering to the universe to co-create so that it can communicate with our left and right brain. That is the biggest challenge. How do we get our brain to be able to work as a team? And that's where we take the other muscles and these muscles up here and go, okay, you guys have to work with me. My left brain, I call Larry at times because Larry has the fear. Larry wants to be the protector. Even my lights keep changing in here, so we've got a lot of spirits in here. We have Larry, the left brain, wants to, are you sure about that? And what is the judgment going to be? And what are people going to say? And they're going to think you crazy. Remember when that happened before? You tried to do that. Who do you think you are that you can do that? All this self-degrading communication that just keeps ruminating, keeps going on, and you feel like, oh, I just really want to make this change. Well, the right brain says, wait a minute, but maybe you can do it. Remember you had that story with that person, the da-da-da-da, you have all this creativity. But the left brain, it likes to overpower. So what we need to do, because what has happened over your time in this life, the period of your life, and I even include previous lifetimes if you believe in that, we have these really deep crevices in our brain that we have created that are pathways that make us a little bit stubborn. So when we talk to people and you're like going, they can't see any other way but this way. They are so rigid. They're so controlling. They can only do it this way. They are not open to anything. These ridges in their brain are so deep that we have to be able to make a conscious decision to create new pathways. When we create these new pathways, we open ourselves up, we expose and change our life with magic, seriously. And it's being disciplined and our awareness. It is our awareness to what we're doing, what we're saying, how much are we doing of the exact same thing. We have these horrible patterns that we keep creating. Sometimes I feel like, one of the things I say is, sometimes we feel being stuck is safe. We're safe, but we're stuck because we keep doing the same thing over and over because we know what to expect. That's the left brain cheering it on. At least you know what's going to happen. They're not going to recognize you. They're going to shame you. They're not going to support you. Yeah, you know what to do. But you really don't want that because first of all, you wouldn't be here, and you want to connect. You want to open up. You want to heal. You want to take all these things and desires that you have in your heart and be able to experience them in this lifetime. And we delay it because we are stuck in a sense of ruminating on the same thoughts over and over and over. So when we create these other pathways, when we change and open ourselves up, the heart has the opportunity to send these messages to our brain. And when these pathways begin to open, all of a sudden, major changes in our life. Now we are heart connected. Because the heart knows the secrets of the soul, the brain gets to fulfill those. It knows it's on a mission. And when it's on a mission, things start falling in place. Your awareness is like, oh, I just had this conversation. Oh, someone just handed me this book or told me the story. You turn on the radio, you turn on the TV, whatever. All of a sudden, these messages start popping up over and over because you aligned and you expanded and you changed the narrow pathways of your brain. Now, your brain has something like 100 million something nutrites. I don't know what that stuff is, but it has a lot of stuff going on. And it's wiring and firing. It's trying to pay attention to your internal and your external experiences. It's trying to manage all of them. So no wonder we sometimes feel overwhelmed or we feel like we just can't get clarity. So a lot of it is calming ourselves down. What do we think? What are we in fear? What are our blind spots that are going on? So many times we have these blind spots in our life and we're unable to see them. I had a class last night. It's called the Solution Program. And we were talking and she goes, I can't do that. And I said, well, explain to me. Can't you do it or do you not want to? And we started laughing. She goes, well, I guess I don't want to. And so many times we want to make changes, but we're not willing to because of our fear. So, Larry's up here going, that's kind of crazy. You don't have time for that. You're too busy, blah, 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 whatever story we want to tell ourselves. We delay our ability to manifest and move forward because the programming in our brain is so rigid and so deep that our subconscious can only go into what we have created over the time period of our lives. So we have to do some sort of side streets, what we call it. We have these major things that are going on, and we need to create other side streets to go, oh, maybe we can do this differently. And when we expand our mind, we expand our soul, we expand our opportunities, the universe goes, oh, thank goodness I have so much more to work with because you gave me the eye of the needle to help you. And I can't get through the eye of the needle. So when you begin to expand, and what I say is that when we break, you're not broken, but when we break open to expand. And we want to expand. We want to change these things. If you think about people in your life, and I have a lot of them where I'm just like, can't you see this another way? Can you find another perspective? And they just can't. They just can't. They hold on to it. I have this prism here that I use quite often in my teaching because the prism shows that there's many different ways or perspectives to see things. And sometimes we get into the place of, I only see one perspective, and maybe we'll see another. But we don't look at all of the different opportunities and perspectives that can be life-changing. I look at that with politics sometimes. We get very tunnel vision, or certain types of religion, which get very tunnel vision. And so, especially right now in this our current climate, there's this very much of, I can't see another side. And it can be frustrating because you're like, but it's right here. It's right here. Can you see the other side? And it's because we have this wiring that is so tight, it's unwilling to see another perspective. So what is going to happen is that when you start aligning your heart and your mind, and we're going to give you some ways to do this, when you start aligning this, it's pretty cool because there are a lot more answers. The universe has an unlimited amount of answers for all of us. It has an unlimited amount of resources and ways to do things. We don't have to recreate the wheel again. We have these abilities to channel information and download things or to change the way our lives are, but we have to give ourselves the opportunity to exercise these muscles and shift them. And so the first thing to really look at is how we get into our belief system. Our wiring is, where does your belief system come from originally? What do you believe? And a lot of it has to be with, we had a negative experience. So when we have a negative experience, we go into this place of, I'm not going to let that ever happen again. That's never, I learned it once, I'm not doing it twice. Or I've done it twice, I'm not doing it a third time. So right there, we think, instead of seeing it as a life experience or a purpose or what we're supposed to gain from it, we shut everything down. One of the things that I teach in my classes is archetypes. How many times do we show up in different ways in our life? So if we've been a victim in our life, we may show up as a warrior. and we become that warrior. That's where we protect ourselves. And that way, the universe can't help us. We can't let spirit in. We don't let someone into our heart. We don't let opportunities manifest because we have all this protection. And we've met people that we feel like they're really closed down. They're so shut down. Why are they so shut down? Well, they've had some experiences in their life. Instead of looking back at these experiences and saying, what was my lesson in them? We go into shutting completely down. And when we shut completely down, we have to take a lot of work. We have to work that muscle again to reopen our heart, to reopen the ability for our left brain to say, that was an experience. You didn't do anything wrong. And when we include shame and guilt along with it, there's a lot of shame in these lessons. When we have been in a marriage that hasn't worked, or a job that we felt like we were not, we were deserving of, but we were, let go of, or our parents shamed us, or there was sexual abuse and rape and things like that, or there was financial failure, we feel like we have to hide instead of saying, okay, well, what is my pattern? What am I supposed to learn from this? So when we reframe our experiences, it gives us power. When we reframe our story, so often we take our story and we wear it like a badge of honor instead of thinking, oh, this isn't here to make me feel less value or to abandon myself. It is to say, I'm here to learn these lessons. When we learn that we have a contract here, when we come here to learn that we're here to learn maybe about judgment and our value, or partnerships, or trust, or surrender, if we're here to learn these things, we're going to have these patterns throughout our life that will continue to occur. And what we do is that we will shut down sometimes more and more and more. And our brain wires in their programming to say, yeah, don't keep doing that. You're doing something wrong. But if we can take that information, those experiences, and move it forward to a place of reframing, going, oh, okay, I was here to learn this. And I'm going to see these patterns. What tools do I have? How do I listen to my heart? And then take that data to my brain to become more successful when that shows up. So how do I do this lesson differently? And that's where the heart and the mind begins to work together. And that's where the universe then can channel information to help you navigate that. Because you're not here to do it alone. We're not meant to be on an island. None of us are. We're here to be in a community. We're here to support each other and cheer each other on. But we're taught through time that if you do it wrong, we shun you. If you don't do it my way, you're not accepted. You're bullied. We are not allowed to make mistakes. So we will then shut down. And if we've had significant losses where we feel guilt or shame around any of those, or don't feel like maybe they're not okay, or we've done something wrong, or do they see what's happening, we lower our vibration and energy once again. So that wiring gets stuck again because we were told you didn't do it right, or you should have done it this way. And that puts our brain into those deeper channels of that wiring that makes us feel more stuck. So you may look for signs, you can read a book, you can meditate, you can do a lot of different things, but until you rewire all of that brain and those thought processes and replace it as quickly as possible, then you're going to create the same patterns that you've been doing for the last whatever years you've been doing this. So the only way to disrupt it is to change it. And that means, how do you change your pattern? How do you change your life? It starts with self-talk. It starts with changing maybe the people you're around. Maybe it's changing how you go to work every day, or what you wear, or what you eat. And this is some of the things we have in our classes. Change something. Change it. Do something that's uncomfortable, because your brain wants to try to figure out how to make you more comfortable. And we can't change until you get uncomfortable so that you can become comfortable in new patterns. It's the only way it works. How do you change it? When we look at our heart, what we're going to do we're going to do an exercise to help you open up your heart. And I will have you do this for 3 days in a row. Today is Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And this is going to help you open up your heart. You're opening up this heart energy, all these 40,000 sensory neurites, to make them kind of activate and open up so that they can go to your brain and they can all do their job. your body will naturally do what it needs to do. It is called the inner healer. So if you're suffering from grief, if you're suffering from any kind of physical pain, whatever, just human life experiences, whatever that is, your body has an inner healer. If we don't use it, it doesn't activate. So it's just like if you sit all day long, your body becomes stiff, your muscles become tight, your muscles shrink, all those things that can happen if we don't use and activate them. So by activating these things, those things start working. I call it like a railroad system. It's doing its job. It knows what to do. It's just you showing up and doing it. And then taking some accountability. How do you change your conversation with yourself? We have a tendency to be really negative. And in class last night, we were talking about how much we work at trying to be positive, how much we work on trying to be self-love and self-care. Even doing a class or making time for ourselves, we feel like it can be selfish. Like taking a vacation or taking time aside, going to a spa, getting your nails done, whatever it is for any of us. We come up with the fact of, well, I've had a really tough week. I need this. We give ourselves permission because we've been suffering. Why do we have that belief system that we have to suffer in order to be kind to ourselves? If we can't be kind to ourselves, then how are we going to ever heal? If we can't take time to love ourselves and be gentle with ourselves, how can our brains and our hearts heal? How can we connect with the universe? The universe doesn't talk bad to itself. It doesn't, you're not doing your job today. No, it shows up and does what it's supposed to do. We are not here to be mean to ourselves. We're not here to be unkind to ourselves or others. Our hearts are not wired to be unkind. Our hearts are not unkind to us. We need to activate that to remember to bring our head and heart in alignment. So when we get confused, when we are confused about what to do, how to go forward, what we need to change, it's only because we are not loving ourselves. We're not giving ourselves time. We're too busy. So when is it that you're a priority? Many times, 99.9% of the time, people that join my program or make an appointment is because there is some significant trauma, they're in a lot of pain, and they are suffering. Someone in their life is suffering. What if we started doing these things before the suffering began? What if we already had things laid out that gave us permission in the beginning of our childhood where we started? Why don't you be kind? And there are cultures out there, believe it or not, that said, don't think with your brain. We're not working on this. We're working with your heart. What is your heart's desire? What do you want to do? Listen to your heart. Your heart has all the secrets. It has all the sacred information that you came with when you were created in this lifetime. It came with all your other lifetimes in this lifetime. It came with all the data that it needs. It's all in here. We just have to dig deep and access it. When we have had trauma, when we have had situations in our life, we have an automatic immune system to shut it all down. I don't want to feel fight or flight. This is too painful. We're not giving tools. For men, it's sometimes suck it up. Men don't cry, don't show pain, you take care of problems, don't be emotional. To be a warrior, don't talk about it. That's the past. For women, we're told you're too emotional, you're too much drama. Get over yourself. She can get away, she can do it. Why can't you? They have the same experience and it doesn't bother them like it bothers you. So we're told all these limiting beliefs that we don't have permission to nurture ourselves, to take care of ourselves, to make ourselves a priority. One of my favorite things is in an airplane when they tell us if the plane's going down, which I don't know how much a mask would be helpful, but I'm sure it would be. It's useful, right? We all need that oxygen. Put your mask on first and then put on the person that's in need. And I talked about that a little earlier today. We're told to take care of ourselves first. We are programmed at a very, very early age. Take care of everybody else. Don't be selfish. What if others are suffering? If there's others suffering, then you can't be happy. We also believe that when someone dies, we can't have joy. We can't be in a happy feeling that they went home. And I'm not saying that we can't have sorrow, we can't miss them, we can't grieve. Absolutely. There's so many different layers to that part of the story. But I will tell you without a doubt, they don't want us to be in misery. They want us to be joyful and remember their love and remember who they are and what they are and all those wonderful things. And that's how we make the connection. Our heart begins to heal so our brains can open up so we can hear them. But if we're carrying the burden, if we're carrying the sorrow and this guilt and shame, guess what? It's I will tell you, it's the kink in the hose. It's almost impossible. And we're searching for these signs from them over and over and over again. We're desperate to see a sign from them. But until we can go within and understand where our limiting beliefs are and rewire the new pathways in our brain and open our heart to be able to love and trust and be open, it's going to be a constant kink in the hose. And we're going to be constantly searching. It's almost like the dog that's chasing its tail. I have done this work for quite a long time, and I have watched people take these lessons, to take these techniques, to take these tools, and completely rewired their brains, rewired their hearts, opened them up, found love, able to connect with their loved ones, hear from their guides, create complete changes in their life, mind, body, and spirit, financial, all kinds of things, because they became aligned. They shifted and changed and rewired and took these muscles and these organs and used practice, muscle test them, made them more strong. We all can do that. We're all capable of doing it. Going back to this Jack LaLanne, that he's 96 and he was still exercising. I mean, I need to really look at that myself. But when we make excuses, it's telling our brain and telling our heart it's not capable. But I will tell you, that's not how our muscles are made. That's not what they do. What happens is that we have to change. And there's a lot of fear in that. There's a lot of fear of, what if I can communicate with my loved one? What if I can hear my guides? What if I do have to change? What if I have regrets that took this long? What if? All these things start coming up with fear versus maybe this would make my life more peaceful. Maybe I can find that serenity. Maybe I can start trusting the universe or trusting people. Maybe what I want to manifest is not what I want to manifest. Maybe what I really want to create is something very different than what I keep telling myself. I start seeing other people out there that have a life that I think they're happy. Maybe I keep thinking that's what I want, but I really don't know what my heart wants. The heart knows the secrets of the soul. It knows what you came to do. It doesn't question it. As a matter of fact, if you truly open up your heart will answer you even before you get the question out in your mind. It knows. It already knows what you're trying to ask and what you want to do. We've all felt it. We're like, yeah, I just know. We think it's our gut. It's right there. It's like, yeah, I just know. It's because we've opened up to the opportunity. We've opened to the idea. We're not shutting it down. I think about the times when we really care and love somebody really deeply, maybe a child or a partner, a parent, whatever, friend, BFF, and they ask us a question and our heart answers immediately because our heart is open. It's not, our brain doesn't go in with all the limiting beliefs, all the things that are negative. So what happens is the more that we practice these things, even with other people, which is why I think community is so important, it begins to help us navigate that compass. And we start trying new things because it's, it comes with ease. I think so many times people want to do this real big. Well, I want to be able to start my own business and move to another country and find my soulmate. It's like, well, can we do a baby step first of all? But first of all, I want you to start thinking about, when did your heart shut down? And you might think, oh, I'm really open. I'm really loving. If that's the case, then what about your brain, your belief system? But let's go to your heart first of all. The heart at some point starts being very protective. It could be the fact that we disappointed a parent, we disappointed a teacher, a coach, a friend, maybe someone broke up with us, or our very first love. And so that heart began little by little being protective. And so as time goes on, it becomes more normal. that protection is a normal sense of feeling, and we don't realize that we have been protecting it for a long time. And so when we really open that heart up and expand, we realize, wow, I did not realize how closed my heart was. And it doesn't mean that you're mean or that you're judgmental or harsh. It just means your muscle wasn't completely open to the fullest extent that's possible. It didn't expand to all possibilities. If we think about somebody that is nothing but love, and I'm sure everyone has felt the love of a child or the love of a puppy, the love of the dog, the love of your pet, and how your heart just goes, wow, that real big love heart person. And then compare your heart, and you feel that you're as open and as wide and expansive and allowing as possible. And if not, take note of that, write it down. And this isn't about judgment. This isn't about what you're doing wrong, but this is what can you work on? What muscle can you work on? What can you do to enhance it, to strengthen it? If you think about someone that is like a bodybuilder or someone that really likes to work out, if they only worked out one part of their body with weights, it would not be balanced, right? You have all these muscles on one side and a very fragile part on the other side. So it would not be balanced. And that's what you're looking at with the heart and mind and spirit, is that you're going to the heart to make it as strong as possible, to be able to manage the brain that is very controlling or overpowering. You want it to be that balance. We want it to be able to do both sides of the energy. We want to have the fire that's in our heart to be able to help manage our brain. So if you can write down your past hurts or your past traumas or anything that kind of comes to mind, you're not here to work on every part of it, but think about, do I want that to heal? Why am I holding on to that? Why am I carrying that? Why do I make it so valuable? Why is that story so precious to me that I have to keep my heart blocked? And if I really want to open up my soul, the secrets of my soul, and I really want to open myself up to be the most powerful person I can be on this planet, then why am I carrying that trauma? Why am I still carrying that story? And it's more about the story, because the trauma will be there, but it can be healed. I've seen magic when it comes to people healing their souls. They are brave. We call it excavating the wounds. Sometimes we don't even know those wounds are there until we start digging. And then we pull them out. We're like, wow, why am I holding on to this? This was 10, 15, 20. I was working on one the other day. It was 42 years ago. And I was thinking, why is it still there coming up? But I knew that my heart, to expand to the fullest extent possible in this lifetime, I want that to heal. I don't want that story to pull me down the rabbit hole. It's a story, but it doesn't have to be my current story. Someone was on that, they'd heard me on the Coast to Coast show. Thank you very much. At 1:00 in the morning, something like that. And she was asking me how I got into this path. And I said, well, everyone that gets on a spiritual quest, they have a spiritual story. When their life changes, is because they've had trauma. They had something happen to them that they knew they could not continue on that path. That direction no longer served them. And the universe says it doesn't serve you because you came to do something different. You came to do something different, and you can't stay where you are. And that's why you think there's something more. I hear my mother talking to me. I hear my father. I hear my grandma. I hear this. What they want to do? Something different. That's it. Do something different. Heal it. Heal it. So then we look at that and we start healing our heart. And then the heart, those things start moving and start working. That railroad system starts working more smoothly, and it starts activating. Then our brain, our left and our right. So my right is my BFF, right? It's got me. You just get going. Yeah, you can do this. You can do this class. You can do a Facebook Live. You can read this gallery of 300 people that are in a room and talk to their different. Yeah, you can do this. My left brain's over there going, yeah, but what if someone doesn't get it, or you get stuck, or you fumble, or you don't say it right, or the judgment, and there are people out there that don't believe in you, and I get all these stories. So it's, how do I get these two to balance? How do I turn Larry down? Larry, I'm sorry, you're not my Bose system. You're going to be this little teeny FM radio box, transistor box I had a long time ago as a kid, right? That's where you are. I'm going to turn you down. And I'm going to take my right brain and I'm going to say, yes, let's keep going. Let's get to be, let's be champions here. Let's take it on. And all of a sudden things start shifting. We get new pathways. Our left Larry brain goes, oh, you don't want to be in fear? Cool. Wow. That's really, you don't want me to talk about, what this person said or what that person said? You don't want, no, I don't really, I just put it away. I don't want to talk about it. And they go, oh, okay. All of a sudden that muscle begins to shift and it creates these different pathways in your brain. And those other ones are not invited anymore. They're not invited to the party because you're not sending out these invitations. You're like, no, you're never appropriate. It's like the relative that, is really obnoxious at the table and you really don't want them at the holiday parties. That's what you want to do with some of those memories. They're not invited. They don't need to come. Nope, they're disruptive. There's too much work that you put into it to have them all over. So they just kind of need to sit in another room or somewhere else. They can come the next time. You'll invite them to just a private setting or something, right? All of a sudden your brain goes, oh, this is how you want to experience life. Okay. It begins to practice and these pathways begin to start flowing. And then you start finding this rhythm. So when people say that they're in the zone, that's what you're doing. You're creating the zone. So I've had my brain mapped, and what they said is that I have a little bit of what's called a gamma brain, and I don't know really what that means, but it's the way we are wired. And so what we want to do sometimes is we want to get different parts of our brain to be more activated because some of us have a stronger parts of our brain that work. So if you're really into math or music or science and things like that, your brain is activated in different parts. And what we want to do sometimes is strengthen the parts that are not as strong, right? Doesn't mean it's negative or failure, things like that. So we can do things to strengthen the muscles that are not to the fullest extent of what we want. So what the important part is to, I'm hearing things buzzing here, so I'm getting distracted. I think what we want to do is to make sure that we're following through with what we believe. Write it down. Make a list of how we want to make changes. What do we want to happen? What do we want to believe in? And how do we create the activation? So what we want to do today is I'm going to show you a exercise that you can do, and I'm going to recommend that you do it to activate your heart chakra. So have you seen any of the statues like in Hinduism or Buddhism or even with maybe with Christ, things like that? They'll have their hands on their heart. So part of even touching your heart will help you activate the heart chakra so that that muscle can say, oh, guess what? It wants to be activated. So it's like any other muscle that where you're working with weights. Or you're walking, or you're trying to make some, stretching, yoga, things like that. And what you're going to do for 3 minutes each time you do this is you're going to breathe in for 5 seconds for 4 seconds, and you're going to breathe out for 6 seconds. And while you're doing this, we're going to give you a few things to think about. And I want to tell you how important this exercise is. I was doing it here for a while, and I could really feel my heart. Well, one of the things I do after I'm done with my shower, I take a really cold shower, as cold as I can. And there's a lot of benefits of what's called biohacking to help your body fight infections, to change things like that. It's good for your skin, it's good for your hair, it's good for your organs, whatever. And I was under some stress for a few days, and I couldn't handle the cold shower. And I was like, wow, I can feel the stress has affected me. I'm unable to do something that I've been doing on a regular basis. So I did this exercise. And during the shower, I was able to take the cold shower, and it shifted. So as I was doing the shower, I did this activation for my heart, and I was able to release the cortisone and the stress in my mind and my heart, and I was able to take the cold shower again. Now, I'm not recommending everyone here take a cold shower, but it is good for your health. But that happened immediately where my heart shifted my energy because I was in a stress moment or a stress couple days, and I could not take the cold shower. So when you put your hand on your heart, not one or both, whatever way you want to do it in a prayer form, hands together, hands this way, you're going to breathe in for 4 seconds, breathe out for 6. So I want you to do that for 3 minutes for me to continue doing that. And I'm going to say a few things to get this activated that you can do on your own. So I want to again breathe in for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So continue doing that. And as you're doing that, I want you to feel and appreciate someone or something special. Just feel the sense of appreciation in your heart. Take it in, exhale out. Feel gratitude for someone or something, and it could be someone who's crossed over or someone that's still with us today. Feel love for someone or something, maybe something that you love or a passion that you've given up that you want to bring back into your life. And then feel compassion for someone or something. And continue to breathe in for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want you to do this. It takes up to 3 days or 72 hours to build this new connection. So you've got the next couple of days to do this activity. This is some documentation. You are releasing about 1,300 feel-good chemicals that last up to 6 hours each time you're doing it. It triggers self-healing, anti-aging, and deep intuition. Who knew that being a simple thing to connect with your heart could do this? But that's why I shared the story about me in the shower, because the stress that I was feeling, I could not do my intuition. I couldn't have that self-love. I couldn't have that self-compassion. And it shifted that energy and vibration almost instantly. But you want to keep up with it. What I want you to do tonight and tomorrow is do this breathing exercise. It brings that, shifts the awareness to the heart. It helps you open up the heart. It helps your heart say, hey, I'm here. Yes, I want you to be there. And then I want you to figure out what you desire. What do you desire? What do I desire? And ask you those questions. Be open. Don't try to, whatever first comes to mind, your heart may already be telling you, write that down. Start thinking about what it is that you desire. What is your heart's secret? What's the secret of your soul? Let it tell you what this is about so that you can get this information. Because this is how you're going to open up your heart to your brain. You're going to take that new railroad system and make all those connections. I'm going to be able to, I don't know if we can even ask questions, Dana. I know I have more and I'm going to share more in the next couple of days. But we have to remember that it's about making some intentional change in. And that means changing our programming of our mind. There's a lot of fear in that. There's a lot of fear in looking at opening up ourselves to our mind and looking at it differently. I'm seeing Dana writing a lot of things down here. So she's putting on here what this all does for our body. She's more of the scientific mind. Thank goodness. That's what we all need, Dana.
I just put in there the instructions on what they need to do.
No, I love it because it's how we all learn. And I'm like a little challenging here. So, trying to get instructions down are not always easy for me. So yes, I think people need to be able to read that, to write those notes down. But I don't know if anyone has any questions or thoughts, or how's or you do, Dana, because you and I do this work together. So if you find something in here that I missed or that you think is really powerful to share, because I know I didn't talk about everything I wrote down here.
Well, I know you have a lot more for tomorrow that you're going to bring in, but getting everybody started on this, I think, is amazing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
Awesome.
If there's any questions, someone likes my haircut. Well, how do I know if someone in spirit is talking to me or if it's kind of a wishful thinking? Great questions, Debbie. So, when it comes to if you feel someone is talking to you in spirit, your heart's going to know. First of all, it does sound like you're making it up. I will tell you that first and foremost. So for me, it had to be where I got validation. So if you feel like you're getting something from spirit, and see if you can get it validated. That's a big thing. I think in the beginning, we really need validation, but it's also trusting that you're not making it up, because that's how it feels. It comes from the right brain, because Larry, the left brain, likes to say, you're making it up. That doesn't mean you can't do this, blah, blah, blah. So definitely trust it. And what it will do is, when it first happened to me, and I recognized it anyway, it didn't stop talking. It kept validating for me that I was hearing someone that had passed. What I recommend is trying to connect with somebody that you do not know. So if you have a friend or a relative that's open to communicating with somebody that is someone you don't know, it's a great way to sort of dip your toe in the water. Say,
Melissa said, how do you differentiate when it's your brain, your heart, or your gut directing you?
I think it's practice. And I think that's just a general kind of statement, but people will ask me like what clairs I use, and I just kind of crack up. It's like, they all kind of come together, and over time it becomes a natural process for me. So if you think about, if you start driving a stick car, that, or if you're cooking and you're just not thinking and you've made this recipe, a million times, it's just a natural process. And that's what happens. The more you do it, you just know and feel it. So how do we put a validation on our emotion? It's how do you label it? We want to label it. And I didn't even talk about the labeling that. Maybe we'll talk about this tomorrow, obviously, our ego and labeling and how we identify who we are. But I think because we're usually not raised about talking. I mean, my kids were raised talking, their mom talked to the dead, right? So it was a normal conversation, but we're not taught that. So how do we bring that in? How do we bring that in?
And I think one other suggestion with that too, Deb, that you and I talked about earlier is that your brain goes through that process and ruminates. And you mentioned that earlier too, is that it ruminates, where your heart is very quick in answering, and it doesn't, it's the same type of cells in your heart that is in your brain. We just don't realize that our heart has neurons that are similar to what's in your brain. So your heart's going to answer, you're going to feel it. It's very quick. It doesn't try to talk you out of it. Right.
Right. There was Alicia that talked about finding 7 feathers every single time I go outside, 1 to 7 feathers. I think sometimes your loved ones or angels or whoever, if you're really a person that goes, well, you have to prove it to me. And I did that in the very beginning as well. They keep showing it to you. Finally, you go, okay, I believe you. I don't need to see all the feathers. I think part of it is you trusting that relationship from your guides or from your loved ones to say that they are really there. But to really, as you move forward, don't expect to always to see those things, that they want you to hear it at a different level. But as Dana said, your heart knows. We all know our heart knows. When we have those moments in time where we're like, I know, we just know. And that's our heart communicating with us. It's these two that are still programmed in a tough way. Is there significance of the ring? Oh, mine, Lisa, she was talking about any significance of the ring. Yeah, it's called an aura ring, OURA, and it's sort of like the watches that how I sleep, how much I breathe, how much I walk. So it's just another method. Do you have a comment on that, Dana?
No,
It's actually superpowers. Let me talk about that for a second. When you are able to activate the heart and mind to work together, it actually is a superpower. And so people that are heart connected, when you just feel like they're so open and they're just not in fear, it is a superpower. And that's what you're creating when you're using all these neurons for both your heart and your brain, because when they work together, they're more powerful versus working separately. So you do create your superpowers. Kathy here says, I tried meditation, but actually can't. So Kathy, your mind, all of us, our mind isn't wired to stop thinking. They're computer systems. They're here to continue going on. So I don't recommend, especially in the beginning, to do meditations that are just quiet. However, if you do sit quietly and your mind still thinks, it's okay. It's to allow yourself to be in the present moment and not to be rushing around. But coloring mandalas, reading a book, lighting a candle at a bathtub, even cooking or walking in the wilderness, all of those things are providing a form of meditation. Do not feel like you have to sit in quietness and your brain shut down. I always joke the only people that can do that are actually monks that have no spouses, no children, no jobs, or no bills. So if you have any of those things, you cannot quiet the mind. So you're in good company. So if that makes any sense. Quiet your mind. Yeah, we can't quiet a mind. Our mind keeps going. And it does take a while. I mean, these muscles, these organs, these things up here, their job is to continue functioning and putting in data and sending out data. So it takes time to quiet that and ease it. And it's part of your wiring that you have been grown up with. Sometimes we're told we just can't sit around, get busy, don't be lazy. And so that programming is still set with us. And it's taking that programming out and saying it's okay to just be quiet and breathe, listening to your breath. So this 5 or 3 minutes of breathing, that alone will help you quiet your brain because you're counting. So that will be very helpful. How do I get my mind to feel not like bad luck is following me? Start saying that you're a lucky person. Seriously, you're making some things in a way to start rewiring because you're believing the negativity. Why can't we believe the positive? I have 2 more days to be able to give you guys insight. Write down all your questions. We're going to talk a little bit about ego tomorrow, our labeling, how we change that, which will help you understand that you're not bad luck, that it's just some lessons that's happened to you and how to reframe what you think is bad luck. My bad luck created the opportunity for me to expand my life and my experience in my brain and my heart to be here today. If that bad luck wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be here. So was it bad luck or was it an opportunity? That's what we have to look at. Is it an opportunity? I want to thank everyone here for joining me today on a Wednesday on 9/11. Send our love to everyone that we know has been affected by 9/11. And I want to thank Dana for managing this for all of us. Thank you all. Namaste.